Okay, my beautiful, sensitive Cancer souls, my magnificent emotional anchors in a world of constant flux. Welcome back to the Zodiac of Mind. I want you to come a little closer for just a moment. Close your eyes if that feels right for you, and take a deep, centering breath with me. Inhale the nurturing calm of your inner sanctuary, and exhale any lingering emotional weight you have been carrying. I have a profound feeling that you were not led here by chance today. Your spirit, in its quiet, intuitive wisdom, knew there was a message waiting for you, a truth that is finally ready to break through the surface of your life. There is a great and gentle turning of a cosmic wheel, a profound recalibration of energetic accounts that has been moving towards you with the slow, deliberate, and undeniable grace of the shifting lunar tides. And now it has arrived. We need to speak of a sacred resolution that is approaching you not with the crash of a sudden storm, but with the quiet, undeniable authority of an inner decree. A message is being prepared, carried by an emissary of emotional truth and peace, perhaps a quiet conversation, a deeply felt realization, or a clear inner knowing, and it concerns a truth about your boundaries and your emotional space that has been obscured for far too long. This is about the restoration of your energy, your inner peace, and a spiritual balance you have so patiently, so empathetically waited for. Your soul, dear Cancer, was woven from the threads of deep empathy and an innate understanding of true comfort. You have provided shelter when the world around others was in turmoil, a silent sanctuary of understanding. But somewhere along your path, that profound capacity to feel may have been mistaken for a boundless well. Your patience may have been misinterpreted as an acceptance of constant emotional giving, and your gentle nature as a sign that you did not feel the weight of emotional imbalance. And it was in those very moments of silent endurance that the universe began to meticulously record every detail. Not in a book of judgment, my friends, but in the sacred, energetic ledger of cosmic law. If this message is already beginning to resonate deep within your bones, if you feel that flicker of recognition in your soul, take a moment now to become a cherished part of our growing sanctuary here at Zodiac of Mind. Press that subscribe button so you never miss these essential cosmic truths designed to illuminate your path. And let me know you are here, anchored and ready to receive what is rightfully yours by commenting below this very moment. I am ready for emotional justice. Your declaration is a powerful signal, a beacon of light that tells the universe your heart is open. I would be so honored to connect with you there. My dear Cancer, let us now speak of the nature of your incredible spirit. There are emotional burdens you have carried in silence, delays in your own needs you have weathered without complaint, and moments of feeling overlooked that you never spoke of aloud. You did not need to. The universe, in its infinite and loving wisdom, felt the silent strain on your tender heart. It witnessed your refusal to compromise your empathy, even when it felt like the world was rewarding detachment and haste. You, more than any other sign, understand the profound power of holding your emotional ground, not with aggression, but with a deep, unshakable knowing of what is right for your inner home. You chose patience not because you were powerless, but because your soul instinctively understands that true, lasting emotional security cannot be rushed. You offered comfort again and again, not because their actions were fair, but because your own inner peace was more valuable to you than engaging in a fleeting, noisy, emotional battle. You refused to let the world's harshness erode your gentle foundation. You may have felt at times like you were in a great pause, a holding pattern that stretched on for months, perhaps even for years. But here is a sacred and profound truth of the spiritual journey. That pause was not a punishment. It was a preparation. It was a divine recalibration, a time when the cosmos was asking you to strengthen your inner sanctuary, to deepen your roots in self-love, so that when the great blessing of peace finally arrived, you would be strong enough to hold it. And now, my friends, that time is upon you. The energy of Saturn, the great lord of karma, structure, and time, has been working quietly behind the scenes. Its retrograde journey through the house of shared emotions, of boundaries, of emotional debts, both given and received, was not a blockage. Oh no, it was a sacred audit. It was stirring up the dust on old emotional agreements, on unspoken promises, on inheritances of both an emotional and ancestral nature. It was bringing to light everything that was left unresolved, every energetic imbalance that was patiently waiting for its moment of reckoning. And the sacred clarity that is now preparing to contact you, this internal knowing, is more than just a thought doing its job. It has become a channel, an instrument through which a far greater, more sacred force is moving to restore harmony. This isn't just about an insight, a feeling, or a gentle whisper. It is perfect cosmic timing. It is the universe itself handing you a key to a door to your own heart that was once locked. What is being returned to you is not merely emotional energy. It is a restoration of your dignity. It is the validation of your worthiness to receive. It is the return of your power, a power that you never lost, but that was perhaps held in trust for you until this very moment. In the sacred language of the tarot, when cards of cups, emotions of the high priestess intuition, and of temperance balance appear together, they are not just speaking of feelings. They are speaking of truth made manifest. They are telling a story of a path that is finally clearing of your deepest emotional needs, being honored in spaces you may have only dreamed of. The doors are not opening because you finally pushed hard enough or because someone else has granted you permission. They are opening because the very structure of the emotional situation can no longer hold itself together without honoring your rightful place within it. The scales of emotional justice are tipping not because you forced them, but because the weight of your inner truth has become undeniable. This is no longer a battle you must fight, Cancer. In fact, one of the most profound lessons of this moment is that your greatest strength now lies in your ability to surrender. Not in weakness, but in the quiet confidence of a soul who knows that greater forces are now working on your behalf. The more you can release the need to control others' emotions, the more you can trust that you are not being punished for past choices, but are being perfectly realigned with a blessing that simply took its time to ripen the lighter your entire being will become. That profound sense of relief, that deep exhale you have been waiting for, doesn't arrive when the final emotional understanding is reached or when external apologies appear. It begins in this very moment, the second you truly understand that you are no longer carrying this burden alone. You do not need to prepare a speech to explain why your feelings were overlooked. You no longer need to justify why a situation felt so deeply unfair. Your peace begins to rise from within the moment you realize that the universe has already heard your silent case and has ruled decisively in your favor. And isn't that the very definition of grace? It doesn't always arrive with a clap of thunder or a dramatic display. It often comes as a quiet notification within your spirit at just the right time. A realization that feels like a key unlocking an ancient emotional chain. A sudden, inexplicable feeling that reminds you with absolute certainty that your heart was never, ever forgotten. Even when you grew weary of waiting and your hope became a quiet, flickering ember, something in the cosmos was still listening. Even when you stopped actively asking, a divine answer was still being prepared for you. So if a part of your soul has grown tired of waiting for emotional justice, if your heart has gone quiet with the sheer weight of it all, let this message be a sacred confirmation. Not everything that has been taken from you is gone forever. Some things, my beautiful friend, are destined to return. Not because you begged or pleaded for them, but because they were always energetically yours. You no longer need to fight. You only need to be ready. Ready to receive. Ready to open your hands and your heart, not because you forced this outcome, but because this moment of divine restoration has always, always had your name written upon it. So stay gentle, stay open, because even if the one delivering this news is your own quiet intuition or a softened conversation, what is truly arriving is something far greater. It is not justice in theory. It is personal, it is real, and it is yours. There is a beautiful, profound stillness in the moment just before a great wave of peace is about to wash over you. It's not a moment of chaos, but one of immense contained emotional power. That is where you are standing right now, Cancer. The place you have been residing in recently, a place that may have felt like emotional depletion or stagnation, was never truly empty. It has been a sacred space of preparation. The great universal pause you experienced around your emotional needs, around overdue appreciation or withheld energetic resources, was not designed to weaken or diminish you. It was shaping your very foundation. It was teaching your spirit the true meaning of self-value, a value that exists far beyond external validation, so that when the floodgates of emotional abundance finally open, you will not be swept away. You will know with the calm and quiet confidence of your inner ocean precisely how to hold what comes. When we speak of emotional energy of your life force finally beginning to move again in your favor, please understand we are speaking of something so much deeper than fleeting feelings. We are speaking of life force. We are speaking of energy that has been frozen, of emotions, thoughts, and even physical stress that have been held in a state of suspended animation and are now at long last ready to flow once more. The idea that what was once held back will now be returned to you is not merely a hopeful forecast. It is a spiritual opening. And as this sacred gateway appears before you, your role is not just to passively receive. It is to consciously expand your capacity to hold more inner peace, more self-trust, more emotional freedom, and more of that deep, nurturing joy that is your soul's birthright. From a cosmic perspective, this is a profoundly significant time for you. The planets are illuminating the areas of your chart that govern emotional value, the places tied to support from others, to mutual care, to ancestral emotional patterns, and to all forms of mutually held emotional wealth. But more importantly, these areas are no longer just glowing with potential. They are beginning to move. Saturn's recent journey was not there to block you. It was there to quietly help you solidify your own unshakable sense of emotional worth, independent of any external validation. And now, as this great cosmic teacher prepares to hand you something tangible, you are not just being asked to open an emotional door. You are being asked to walk through it with the full weight of your integrity, with the wisdom you have gained in the waiting. We so often forget this simple, powerful truth. Our emotional resistance creates energetic delay. When you carry a deep-seated fear of not having enough emotional support, or a subtle guilt about putting your own needs first and receiving abundance, you unconsciously create a small dam that blocks the very flow that is already trying to reach you. This moment right now is your sacred invitation to soften that fear. It is time to stop questioning whether you have earned this. You have. Your very existence, your quiet empathy, your unwavering integrity, that was the work. You are already enough. You do not need to prove that to another living soul, and you don't even need to prove it to yourself anymore. If you have ever wondered in the quiet moments whether it is wrong or unspiritual to desire emotional stability and inner comfort, let this message reassure you with all the certainty of the cosmos. It is not. Peace and abundance, when placed in the gentle, capable hands of a soul like you, becomes a source of profound healing. It becomes a tool for creating security, for nurturing beauty, and for supporting not just yourself, but all those you hold dear in your loving heart. And yes, perhaps a heartfelt conversation is on its way, a loving realization, an unexpected sense of ease. But the real lasting shift, the one that will change the entire trajectory of your life, is internal. It is the moment you finally fully stop believing that love, peace, or security must be earned like a wage. You were worthy of it all along. And now life is simply catching up to the magnificent truth of who you have always been. Here is something simple, a small ritual I recommend as you open to this new frequency. When your energy begins to expand like this, consciously surround yourself with colors that reflect emotional healing and steady, grounded growth. The color silver brings in the vibration of intuition, of lunar wisdom, and of gentle forward movement. Soft blues or greens invite calm, healing, and a quiet self-assurance. You don't need to perform a complicated ceremony. Simply allow these colors into your space, into your wardrobe, perhaps even as the background on your phone. This is not a superstition, my friend. It is a conscious act of energetic alignment. It is you telling the universe, I am ready to match the frequency of my blessings. And if you have ever looked around at the world and wondered, When will it finally be my turn for peace? This is your sign. You are not late. You are not behind. You are arriving in perfect divine timing to a life that is fully and completely ready to receive you. So breathe deeply. Let go of the immense pressure that told you that you must fight and struggle for every inch of emotional progress. You don't. This is not a war. It is a return. It is a homecoming. Let it come to you. When the energy in your life begins a profound shift, dear Cancer, it rarely announces itself with loud drama. At first, it often shows up as a subtle, unmistakable friction. Emotional connections that once flowed with ease suddenly seem to misalign. Words that you speak with clarity don't seem to land with others in the way they used to. Or perhaps most powerfully, a quiet, persistent thought begins to rise from the depths of your soul, a whisper that says, "This no longer fits who I am." You, more than most, are a master of emotional balance. You instinctively know how to create harmony and stability within your inner world. And so when your own internal scales begin to feel off balance, despite all of your best efforts to steady them, please know this: it is not a sign of your failure. It is sacred feedback. It is a signal from your higher self that something deep within you is undergoing a profound emotional evolution. The people, the roles, or the emotional spaces that once met you exactly where you were may no longer be able to reach the person you have now become. In the language of the cosmos, that feeling often arises when transformative planets like Uranus or Pluto touch your chart gently but insistently, pulling you out of old, rigid emotional structures and asking you to grow beyond the outdated versions of your own story. But this is not about burning your life to the ground. For you, it is about a sacred and intentional realignment. It is about choosing with quiet dignity a path that is in greater harmony with the truth of your soul today. The cards, especially those of the path and the signal, indicate a key moment of emotional redirection is upon you. And while it may feel deeply uncomfortable or uncertain on the surface, please trust that this is not a punishment. It is by divine design. You are not just being pulled away from something. You are being lovingly, powerfully pulled towards something better. Something your next chapter desperately needs in order to truly magnificently bloom. You may already be sensing the signs, those gentle whispers from the universe. A recurring sense of emotional tension with a person you once felt completely safe with. A duty or a role that once inspired your nurturing but now leaves you feeling drained and empty. Conversations that feel like they are taking more from you than they are giving. These are not random coincidences, my friends. They are cues from your soul. They are your spirit's way of lovingly nudging you and saying, "It's time." When these signs begin to appear with greater frequency, it is no longer a matter of if you will need to move forward in a different way, but simply a matter of when. The discomfort you feel in these moments is just your magnificent soul's way of saying, "This emotional container has become too small for the person you are becoming." There is something so deeply sacred about the moments in life that ask us to make a choice. Not a choice born of fear or made in haste, but one made with quiet, deliberate intention. And for you, Cancer, choosing to move forward does not mean you are betraying or dismissing the past. It simply means you have honored its lessons so completely that you have now outgrown the emotional classroom it once provided. You do not owe anyone a lengthy explanation for your evolution. Honoring the truth of the person you have become is reason enough to step into something new. Trust the signals that are rising from within you. Trust your impeccable timing, your intuitive instincts, and trust in the emotional freedom that is patiently waiting for you just beyond the horizon of what you have been afraid to release. There is a story of a great ancient tree that stood for centuries providing shelter and shade. But one year, a new, stronger sapling began to grow right beside it, and the old tree's roots began to feel crowded. The old tree did not fight the sapling. It did not try to choke its growth. In its great silent wisdom, it simply began to let go. It allowed some of its oldest branches to fall away, creating space and sunlight for the new life to flourish. It understood that its legacy was not in holding on forever, but in gracefully making way for the future. You, Cancer, may be in one of those moments. You don't need to see the next 5 steps of your journey lit up before you. You only need to have the courage to acknowledge what is no longer nourishing your emotional spirit. And when you create that sacred space, life always has a way of meeting you there. A gentle practice I often suggest is to take a piece of paper and write down what you are truly ready to let go of. Not as an exercise in control, but as an affirmation of your readiness to move forward. Name the thing you have carried for too long: an emotional burden, a story you tell yourself, a role you have outgrown. Say it clearly. Let that be the sacred beginning of your emotional release. Healing, my beautiful friend, rarely arrives like a bolt of lightning. It comes gently, layer by layer, through a series of small goodbyes and quiet truths that rise to the surface without warning. Sometimes, it even shows up in the form of someone from your past, not to re-enter your life, but to offer you a final sacred opportunity to close a chapter that was never truly finished. Right now, the cosmos is deeply supporting this kind of emotional release for you. With your ruling planet, the moon, guiding your intuition, and the cups cards appearing so strongly in your reading, you are entering a time of profound, heart-centered recalibration. This is not a season for high drama or painful conflict. It is a season designed for peace. It is a moment where love no longer needs to be chased or proven. It only needs to be welcomed when it shows up in its calmest, most honest, and most authentic form. This closure you are seeking might come through a quiet conversation you once thought could never happen. Or perhaps even more powerfully, it will come through a profound and healing silence, a moment when the old, painful, emotional questions that once haunted you simply fade away and a deep and lasting peace finally takes their place. This is the quiet strength of true emotional maturity. It is the deep knowing that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay forever, but that every single connection, even the painful ones, leaves you with a sacred gift, something to honor, something to learn from, and then something to gently let go. Cancer, this is your chance to turn your gaze inward. If you have been seeking clarity about a relationship, a past love, a friendship, a family bond, this is your cue to begin a soft and gentle reflection. Take out a journal and write the words you never had the chance to say. Look through old photographs, not with a sense of longing for what was, but with a heart full of gratitude for how far you have come. Then, when it feels right in your soul, perform a small ritual of release. Maybe you burn the letter in a safe place, watching the smoke carry the old energy away. Maybe you bury a symbolic object in the earth, not to erase the memory, but to release its hold on you, to set yourself free without an ounce of regret. And perhaps on the other side of that sacred freedom, a new kind of love is waiting. Not a love that is loud or fast or demanding, but one that is steady and true. The kind of love that doesn't overwhelm your spirit, but holds it gently. A love that doesn't constantly test your worth, but quietly, consistently reminds you of it. If this is what your heart has been craving, know that it begins not in finding the arms of another, but in how you tenderly show up for yourself. To be fully present with your own feelings, to allow them to move through you without judgment or shame or a need to create a story around them, that is the sacred invitation that brings real, lasting love into your life. There is something so incredibly beautiful about learning to love without needing to be needed, about standing so still and so solidly in your own truth that you allow yourself to be truly seen. Not as a version of yourself that you have molded to please someone else, but as the magnificent, authentic person you have so quietly, so courageously become. This is the kind of deep inner healing that subtly shifts everything around you, not through force, but through pure resonance. This is what opens the door to a connection that feels real, that feels like home, because it starts not with another person, but with a profound reconciliation with the deepest parts of yourself. True reconciliation, dear Cancer, isn't always about reaching back to someone from your past. More often than not, it is about returning to the sacred places in your own heart you have been afraid to touch. When you finally stop carrying the immense weight of misunderstandings that can no longer be rewritten, you make room for beautiful new stories to grow. Stories built on presence, on peace, and on the divine permission to finally feel free again. Not every great turning point in our lives begins with a grand, decisive action. Some of the most profound shifts start in the stillness. They begin in that soft, sacred space between a thought and a belief in the realm where your imagination meets your willingness to receive. Cancer, you have walked such a long road of quiet strength and deep, unwavering empathy. And now life is asking you to take one more gentle step. Not outwardly, but inwardly. Not with your hands, but with your mind. Because before any great blessing can land in your physical world, it must first be allowed to take root in the soil of your inner world. Your imagination is not mere daydreaming. It is a frequency. It is the energetic shape your future takes before it arrives in your reality. What you can picture with clarity, what you can feel with depth in your heart begins to gather around your life like iron filings to a magnet. This is not magic in the way of fiction. It is the sacred science of energetic patterning. And right now, Cancer, you are being asked to aim that powerful, nurturing energy of yours toward emotional expansion, toward inner abundance, and toward your next open door. The numbers are speaking to you now as well. The presence of the number 7 surrounds you in this time. 7 is the number of spiritual completion of a cycle coming to its natural and necessary end. It is the number of closure for all that has been. And right behind it, you can feel the energy of the number 3 rising. 3 is the number of rebirth, of creation, of joyful expression. This divine pairing of 7 and 3 marks a profound reset point in your journey. It is the turning of a great page in your book of life. It is the kind of cosmic shift that invites you to dare to imagine again, and to do so boldly without guilt and without the emotional limitations of the past. And sometimes it is the simplest tools that hold the most profound power. I invite you to try this with me now. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and picture your phone lighting up with a message from someone you deeply care about, a message that brings you profound emotional relief and understanding. Or perhaps you simply feel a wave of complete peace wash over you as you look at your home. Just allow that feeling to flood your entire being. The feeling of profound relief, the feeling of deep gratitude, the feeling of unshakable emotional security. Notice how your breath changes. Notice how the tension in your shoulders begins to melt away. Notice the warmth that spreads through your chest. That moment, my friend, even when it is only imagined, is how true alignment begins. It begins not in the external world, but in your own nervous system. You don't have to force or fake the feeling. You just have to be willing to feel it, even for a few seconds each day. That is how your reality learns what it is to become. When you imagine with this kind of focused intention, you are not running away from the truth of your current circumstances. You are building a new, more powerful relationship with it. Your thoughts become the compass points, and your emotions become the engine that drives you forward. Together, they form the path to your desired destination. I have heard so many stories from beautiful souls who have used this simple, sacred practice. One woman, after months of agonizing emotional confusion surrounding a family matter, began to write every single night in her journal as if it had already happened. She wrote, "Thank you for the clarity. Thank you for the emotional peace and harmony that now fills my home." At first, she said, it felt awkward, like she was pretending. But within weeks, something began to shift. Conversations that had felt stuck suddenly found flow. Misunderstandings that were in a bureaucratic maze of assumptions suddenly cleared. Her simple notebook became more than just paper. It became the fertile soil where her belief began to bloom. Her words were the water, and her trust was the seed. You do not need to have your entire future figured out to begin. You do not need to be completely fearless. You just need to believe it is possible long enough for the momentum of the universe to find you. Just like a tiny seed must first break open in the darkness of the soil before it can reach for the sun, your breakthroughs need this time of quiet internal tending before they can rise into the light. And what nourishes them most is not external proof. It is your faith. It is your quiet, gentle decision to hold a vision in your heart before the world reflects it back to you. If you have just walked through a great emotional storm, Cancer, please take a deep breath now. The worst has passed. Even if the rainbow isn't fully visible yet, trust that it is forming somewhere just beyond your sight. Color and warmth are returning to your sky, because your imagination, when combined with your powerful intuitive energy, becomes the sacred bridge from what is to what can be. If you have journeyed with me to this sacred point in our message, my beautiful Cancer soul, I want to thank you. Not just for listening with your ears, but for staying present with whatever stirred inside of you. Whether this message awakened an old ache or sparked a new and brilliant hope, you showed up for it. And that act of showing up in and of itself is irrefutable proof that you are already in motion. Everything you have heard today was not just random information. It was alignment finding its way to you. Not as a coincidence, not as a stroke of blind luck. This message arrived at your door because on a deep soul level, you were ready, even if you didn't consciously know it until this very moment. You have been standing at the precipice of a great emotional change for longer than you may even realize, quietly sensing that something is about to give, that something is about to shift, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. And while the universe may graciously present you with the door only, you can make the conscious choice to place your hand upon the handle and turn it. Only you can decide to walk through. Perhaps that door looks like finally receiving the emotional validation you once believed had passed you by. A heartfelt connection, a long-delayed family reconciliation, a well-earned recognition for your silent, tireless nurturing, finally coming full circle. Perhaps it means finally, gracefully letting go of a role, a person, or a pattern of emotional thinking that no longer reflects the magnificent, evolved version of you that you have become. Or perhaps, just perhaps, it is about love. A kind of love that doesn't ask you to shrink yourself to fit. A love that doesn't demand performance or perfection, but only your gentle, authentic presence. Whatever form your breakthrough takes, the root of it is always the same, a single moment of choice. A decision made not in the chaos of the world, but in the profound clarity of your own heart. And that choice does not live in the noise outside. It lives within you. So let me ask you something with all the honesty of my heart. What if this wasn't just a video you stumbled upon? What if this was your divine confirmation? What if the very thing you have been waiting for, whether it's an emotional breakthrough, a profound realization, a sign from the universe, a release from past hurts, is already on its way to you, being quietly and lovingly prepared behind the scenes, simply waiting for you to truly believe that it is possible? Are you ready to make space for it in your life? Are you willing to loosen your grip on what is dissolving so that you have two hands free to receive what is now coming alive? So many of us hold ourselves back, waiting for something external to shift before we give ourselves permission to feel differently on the inside. But what if the great cosmic secret is that it works the other way around? What if your internal heartfelt yes is the very key that activates the change you have been praying for? Right now, just for a moment, I invite you to pause. Close your eyes, take a slow, deep breath into the very center of your being, and whisper softly, either out loud or in your spirit, these two simple words: I receive. Feel what happens, not just in your mind, but in your body, in your shoulders, in your jaw, in the rhythm of your heartbeat. Let your very cells remember what openness feels like. That, my beautiful friend, is how we begin again. Your path has never truly been walked alone. There are quiet, powerful forces at work, threads of divine grace weaving through the tapestry of your story, even when you cannot see the full pattern yet. But even so, the ultimate power to move forward still belongs to you. You are the one who turns divine alignment into earthly reality. You are the one who anchors the energy of miracles into solid form. And it doesn't begin with a grand declaration to the world. It begins with the smallest, truest, most honest yes to yourself. Thank you for joining me here on Zodiac of Mind. Remember, you are the healer. You are the gentle, powerful creator of your reality. And you are so much closer than you think to achieving your wildest, most beautiful dreams. I send you an abundance of joy, love, and unwavering peace. Until next time.